Hello there. In this video, I'm just going to do a little response to a video that I watched on Munro Live about the Q4. And before I start, I've got a lot of respect for the work that they do at Munro. They clearly know their stuff. The video that I'm talking about is when Sandy is talking about the Q4 and how disappointed he is with Audi. But some of the stuff that he says is inaccurate, and some of it appears to be wrong. So I thought I'd just respond to that on here. Okay, here we go. First up, he asks if you can tell if the vehicle behind him is an ID4 or an e-tron. And that's neither. The one that they've got in the studio is a Q4 Sportback, which has a completely different shape to an ID4 at the back. The roof line's different, rear screen's at a different angle. He also compares it to an e-tron, says you can't tell the difference between the ID4 and the e-tron. The e-tron's a bigger car, physically bigger, based on a different platform and nothing to do with the Q4 e-tron. The e-tron is the one that's now been rebranded as the Q8 e-tron. I could have understood it if you compared the ID5 to the Q4 Sportback, because they're both that coupé kind of style. And they do look kind of similar, apart from the rear doors, the rear windows behind the doors, the D-pillars, the rear quarters, the front wings, and the shaping of the doors. But hey, they both have wheels. Similarly, the ID4 and the Q4 SUV version are similar in that they've got a similar body style, apart from the shape of the rear doors, the windows beyond that, the D-pillars, the wings, the rear quarters, the front end, which is entirely different, including the hood stroke bonnet, and the rear end, which looks completely different. But again, they do both have wheels. He also describes this as an ICE vehicle, which is not true. Patently not true. I mean, it's based on the MEB platform, which is a dedicated EV platform. So given the impression that it's based on an ICE platform, that's wrong. So moving inside the car, when you get in, you don't need to press the start button to start it up. Just put your backside on the seat. It comes on. The start button's there if you want to switch on the ignition. So you can switch on the ignition with that, which will bring up the dashboard displays. But again, you don't need to do that. If you get in the car and put your foot on the brake pedal, it'll switch it on for you. You just demo that, brake pedal, boom. You don't have to press the brake and the start stop button. That's counterintuitive because you started the car and then tried to switch it off. My favourite quote from Sandy in the video is when he's talking about the number of buttons and he says, "Holy doodle. Holy doodle indeed. Having physical HVAC buttons is too much." Only it's not really. To describe it as not intuitively obvious is possibly overstating it. There are buttons to change the temperature and the fan speed and for your heated seats, but they're pretty much what you would get in any other car. There's nothing to figure out here. Drive select, hazards, traction control, that's all straightforward. And then there's this mysterious thing here, which with no doctorates and no master's degrees, my children have managed to figure out, which is how you change the volume by just twiddling your finger around. Really tricky that. Right, onto the steering wheel where there's all these ridiculous buttons. Well, it's not really. There's some buttons there for up, down, left, right, and to change the display on the screen on the cockpit. And then there's some volume buttons and track skipping and phone buttons, which you have on loads of other cars. The smart sticks that he talks about, well, we call them column stocks. There's one for the indicators, which goes up to turn right, down to turn left. And you can click on your high beams and flash your headlights on there. And on the right hand side, he couldn't figure out how to make the wipers go automatic, so there's a wiper stock, and what you do is one click up for auto, which you can just leave it there and they're on. And you can change the sensitivity of the auto. Or you can click them up to have them on, click them up again to have them on fast, or just leave them on auto and they will stay there on auto forever. Click away for you for the rear wiper, but not on the Sportback one, obviously, which it doesn't have. The other mysterious stock, or smart stick as he called it, is the cruise control one. Now, I think this is pretty much standard Audi. Push it away to switch it off, towards you to click it on, up and down to change the speed, the little button on the ends to set the speed, and if you want to use it as a speed limiter, you press the button with lim written on it, all of which takes several seconds to figure out. Same with the gear selector. Park button, straightforward. Click up to reverse, down for neutral, down again for D for drive. One more puts it in B, which apparently he's never seen that on any other car. I find that hard to believe that you can work out what B does. B puts it on full regen. There's also a button for the headlights, which can be auto or on or side lights or off or back to auto. And there's a full suite of switches and buttons on here, which do the windows and the mirrors. The apps he's talking about on the screen being ridiculous, you hardly need that. There are buttons there, little home buttons on the right hand side, which take you shortcuts to your sat nav or to radio or whatever. You don't need to delve in to the various apps. He does talk about the fact that he hates that it doesn't do one pedal driving, and he's kind of right. It doesn't do full one pedal driving, but the bit where he says you have to step on the brakes, as if that's a bad thing. Well, yeah, ICE cars have had that for years if you want to slow down, and to be honest, if you just click it into B mode, it'll do full regen anyway. Or you can leave it in D mode and do the predictive regen, where it'll slow you down for vehicles in front, or for the speed limit when the speed limit changes, or if you're approaching roundabouts and things. So to say it can't do one pedal driving is slightly overstating it. It will slow you down, but it will bring you to a crawl. It won't bring you to a complete stop. So for that last 2 miles an hour, you may have to touch the brake pedal. Sandy's closing part about if you want an ID4 but want to pay a lot more, get a Q4. I would disagree with that too, but maybe that depends on where you are. My Q4 cost me roughly £10 a month more than the ID4 would have cost, and less than £10 a month than a Skoda Enyaq would have cost me, with the same battery pack and same drivetrain. I prefer the Q4. It's got physical HVAC buttons. It's got physical window switches for all 4 windows. It's got a screen which doesn't look like an iPad's been hot glued onto a dashboard. Sandy, if all this is too much for you, mate, maybe you should just get a Disco 2. So much simpler. So many less buttons. So much less to worry about. Sorry, but that's the way I see it. Right, if you've made it this far, congratulations. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.